Hi guys, how's it going? So my name is Alex Stewart, as you know, and about a month ago I made a video on my DNA results, Ancestry DNA results by Ancestry Dna, and I talked about my ethnicity and how I was adopted from Guatemala and how um, I'm mostly Native American, also known as Mayan, and then a little bit of Italian, and then some European, and then a little bit of African, and then a little bit of West Asian and Middle Eastern. So, since I was adopted, I'm obviously curious about my past and where I come from. So, what I did was I took another test by 23andme to see if I get any similar results. So, I'm going to share those results, and we're going to compare my Ancestry DNA results to my 23andme results and see how different they are. So, first I'm going to show you my Ancestry DNA results, just so you can get a preview of them, in case you didn't watch my other video, and then I'm going to show you my 23andme results after that. So, I'm going to pull up my Ancestry DNA results. Okay, so I'm going to show you them on my phone. Okay, so this is Ancestry DNA. Ethnicity estimate for Alec Stewart. So it says Africa. I don't know, it's kind of hard to see, but it says that I'm 9% African. Cameroon, Congo, 3%. Africa North, 2%. Mali, 1%. Benin, Togo, less than 1%. Africa Southeastern Bantu, less than 1%. Africa South Central Hunter-Gatherers, less than 1%. So that makes sense because, you know, obviously there were slaves from Africa that were brought to the New World, which Guatemala. So they mixed in with the natives, so that's probably where the black comes from. Then, no surprise, I am 68% Native American. So I'll show you. Yeah, 68%. Then I am 10% Italian. And I already talked about how Italian, I was kind of confused why I got Italian because Guatemala was invaded by the Spanish, not the Italians. So I'm curious how the Italian DNA got in there instead of Spanish. And Spanish was only 2%, which I'll get into. So for trace regions for Europe, I got 5% Ireland, 3% Great Britain, 2% Iberian Peninsula, less than 1% Europe West, and less than 1% Scandinavia. So, for the Iberian Peninsula, I only got 2% for a trace region. That was kind of confusing because, you know, I would expect to get 10% Spanish and 2% Italian, but it's the other way around. So, we'll see what 23andme has to say. And then, obviously, the rest of this stuff can easily be from, you know, mixing throughout, you know, Europe, because all Europeans have a little bit of, you know. And then 2% West Asian from Middle East, and I would say that would probably make sense because, you know, Southern Europe was constantly invaded by the Moors, which originally came from the Middle East, so that's probably where the Middle Eastern DNA comes from. So that's basically my DNA results for Ancestry.
Hey, can I see?
Okay, so now I'm going to show you my 23andme results. So now I'm going to show you my 23andme. So obviously I'm going to see if I get Italian in this too, and how much Spanish I get. So I'm going to pull up my 23andme DNA results. Okay. Here they are. So, it says, I'll read it to you. This is interesting. So, It says 62.0% East Asian and Native American. So that obviously makes sense. So previously I got 68% Native American, but this time I got only 62, which sometimes the calculations may not be exact. So it's safe to say around 60 something. So 51.4% Native American, 0.4% East Asian, that's interesting, and 10.1% broadly East Asian and Native American. So then next I got 24.9% European. So previously on Ancestry DNA, I got 21% European. So it's a little bit less, but mistakes happen. So I got Southern European, and here's where the interesting part comes in. I got 7.6% Iberian, which is also Spanish. So that's interesting. So clearly one of these DNA tests isn't getting their results right, or isn't doing their testing right, or they're doing it differently. So I guess it's safe to say I'm Southern European in general, but I know that, you know, Spain and Italy are definitely two different ethnic groups, and they have two very different cultures, so it's interesting. Then I got 0.1% Sardinian, 0.1% Balkan, 14.0% broadly Southern European, 0.2% Ashkenazi. Now that's interesting. That's something I'll get into in my next video, which is on my brother's Ancestry DNA results, and I'll be comparing his to mine. So I didn't know I was Ashkenazi Jewish, because on Ancestry DNA, if I go to Ashkenazi Jewish, or European Jewish they call it here, it says I'm 0% European Jewish. So that's interesting. I'm curious how they got European Jewish here. And then I got less than 1% Northern European. And here, it's interesting. Here I got less than 1% Northern European. Here I got, well, I guess Northern Europe would basically mean England, you know, Ireland, and you know, Europe West. I got more than that. I just got heavy Northern European blood in here, so that's interesting. So if we move on, it says 6.7% Sub-Saharan African. So 6.2% West African. That would sort of make sense because, you know, I got around 9% here, so the calculations are just a little bit wrong again. I got like 3% Cameroon Congo, 1% Mali, and like less than 1% Benin Togo. So I would say it's safe to say that I'm Western African. And then less than 1% Central and South African. And then broadly 0.4% broadly Sub-Saharan African. And then last but not least, I got 1.2% Middle Eastern and North African, 0.6% Middle Eastern, 0.3% North African, 0.4% broadly Middle Eastern and North African. So that's interesting. And here I got 2% Middle Eastern. So that's interesting. There's not really much to say about this, but that they both are very similar. But here is where the interesting part comes in, including the Ashkenazi Jewish, which was a surprise. There was also 0.1% Oceanian, which is Native Australian. That's something that I did not get in Ancestry DNA. See, if I go to show all regions, which I did, this would fall under Melanesia. I got 0%. But here I got 0.1%, and not such a small percentage, but, you know, it's interesting. So I'm not sure which test to believe, because I'm getting very weird results, but anyway. Anyway, those are my DNA results from Ancestry and 23andme, and I can put them side by side so we can see the difference. I'll give you one more look at him. And then my 23andme. I know it's kind of blurry, guys, I'm sorry. Hey, I'm making a video.
Dinner time.
Shh, I'm making a video. I'm making a video. Sorry, guys, I gotta go to dinner. My parents are getting a little mad. Alright, guys, well, I will see you later. Thank you for watching my video, and, take care.